You know, the incoming administration has a tall mountain to climb, if you ask me. And Aman knows this. President-elect Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has vowed to make corruption unattractive. This he hopes to achieve by putting in place policies that would make corruption unattractive to Nigerian workers, especially judges. Tinubu re-echoed the sentiments of past country leaders who said the unity of the country was not negotiable, adding that he would be fair to all. We wish him Godspeed. But first, let's share the story by TVC News' Uche Okoro. Come with us.
It is no longer news that a political alliance exists between an outgoing two-term governor and an incoming president, both from the south. So it is not surprising that the president-elect's comments suggesting that he is not indebted to his political ally elicited mixed reactions across the country. At the inauguration of the new magistrate court complex, the former Lagos State governor explained that as president-elect, he does not have the power to act on behalf of the federal government.
He didn't ask for a personal commitment. He asked for a policy commitment, which an incoming president has no authority to offer and approve. There can only be one president at a time. I cannot commit to expenditure on behalf of outgoing president when my tenure has not started. Get educated. Be informed.
Speaking about the project, he described it as an effective way of fighting corruption in the judiciary.
We must fight corruption. And we definitely must look at the other side of the coin. If you don't want your judges to be corrupt, you got to pay attention to their welfare.
Life venture.
The countdown is on to when Governor Wike would be leaving office. With projects like this that have been completed in the twilight of his administration, he is bowing out with a feeling of accomplishment.
Your Excellency, Mr. President-elect, I feel so satisfied. I know in the next 2 weeks, I will already be bowing out. But I'm bowing out with happiness that I'm going home satisfied, that I did not disappoint Rivers people, and I did not disappoint the judiciary. Thank you, and God bless you.
Governor Wike also announced that the state government would release 120 million naira for the maintenance of this new magistrate court complex for 1 year. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
Many thanks, Uche. Yusuf, at this point, fighting corruption brings to mind the book written by one-time finance minister in this country.
Kunjawala?
Yeah. Fighting corruption is dangerous.
Yes, it is, and that is how it is everywhere. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria.
Okay.
You read the latest one by former NPA boss.
The lady?
Yes.
Hadiza?
So she echoed similar sentiments that stepping on toes,
yeah,
has consequences. Sometimes the
because
consequences
some of those toes have sores, big sores.
Very powerful toes. When you step on them, it's sometimes bloody. So, but I don't think we are speaking the mind of the incoming president. I think what it means, from my own reading, is that when you try to make life meaningful for people, when you reduce poverty, you know, when you take care of people, that the tendency to still want to go and steal will be reduced. It does not mean that there will be zero corruption, but the tendency for people that are well taken care of to still want to steal will reduce. Okay. And if you listen to Asiwaju very well, he was saying that, okay, do you know what many judges are going through? On this program about 2 months ago, we discussed judges being owed salaries, judges retire into penury, judges unable to pay basic bills.
Bills, yeah.
So is that the picture of a judge in any decent democracy should have? So I guess Asiwaju is fully aware of these kind of issues and is ready to make sure that that will no longer be the order of the day, that the judges will be properly taken care of in terms of remuneration, work environment, and all conditions of service. Then you go back to the engine room of government, which is the workforce. You need to take care of the workforce too. So when they are well taken care of in terms of remuneration, condition of service, and all that, do you know, we shout about politicians. If you know what civil servants do in the damage, in terms of damage to Nigeria,
No. In terms of corruption.
That's what I mean by damage. Corruption is damaging. So they are usually the ones that let's say this man now is just newly appointed. So he gets to a new terrain and he's looking whether I should sit down properly or I should
banana peels everywhere.
They will say, hey, don't worry yourself, sit down properly. They are the ones that normally, teach the politicians the ways and means to damage Nigeria.
Today, when I think in the first term of President Muhammadu Buhari, there was a sting operation. Do you remember?
Yes.
On judges.
On judges.
On judges' quotas.
So you expected something to have been done?
Actually, you see, it was late Chief who made a remark that the problem with Nigeria is that instead of dealing with the symptoms, we deal with the effect. The effect is that after somebody has stolen, why not prevent that person from stealing? I think Asiwaju was basically referring to the fact that it is systemic. Systemic, the fact that I could remember during his 8-year tenure. I don't know now, but Lagos State judges were the best paid in Nigeria because he thought that there's no point. If you know that you are going to retire in 5 years' time and you have spent all your money educating your children, that's what happens to most elites who did not stay. So by the time you retire at the age of 50 or 60, there's no house to return to. And they bring a case before you, and you know that you can help yourself by compromising the system.
Yeah.
People will be corrupt. So let us deal with the fundamental causes of corruption. Yes, no society can wipe out corruption, but it is very endemic. So let us tap it from the root. If you are sure of your life after retirement, if you are sure of the safety of your job after you have done what you are supposed to do at any point in time, nobody can bribe you. But the thing is that we have to go to real effect of corruption. For instance, I was telling you before we came on, a young man of age of 38, who was until probably last week, he was the chief executive officer of the Rural Electrification Agency of Nigeria. He was accused of having 37 bank accounts. Akan is civil servant, because whether you like or not, he's a public servant, has 37 bank accounts, which means most of the rural areas in Nigeria that are supposed to have had electricity, they could not have it because of this man's free hands. He has 37 bank accounts. But you and I know that except there's a good policy in place, the guy may escape with a slap in the wrist.
Sorry. None of us here will pretend that corruption is not worse than diabetes, to quote the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi.
Yes.
Yusuf, and today, both of you will remember that some years back, 2 civil servants in Abuja had over 300 plots in Abuja,
yes.
and nothing has happened.
Happened to them.
No, that's
slapping the risk judgment. They say make a big plea bargain. You have stolen 40 billion, forfeit 25 billion to the government. What happens to the remaining 15 billion? That 15 billion is going to be within the system. It's not going to explain to his children, like I was telling you, that if we can reduce corruption, I'm not even saying stop it in Nigeria by 50 or 60%. Most of the private universities in Nigeria today will fold up.
Yeah.
And believe me, I know Asiwaju didn't, speak much about this matter. You cannot fight corruption just by
with empty stomach.
Just by making sure you give more salary. And how does corruption happen in Nigeria? You need to reform the police security agencies. You need to reform the financial, or what you call the banking sector. There is no crime that you do. There is no stealing that you do that will not involve the banks.
Yeah.
So you understand me? So when you take it sector, by the time you go round, there are several sectors you must first of all reform. If you go, because you cannot go by the style of this outgoing administration, sting operation, what has happened. At the end of the day, the government lost all the
system. All right. The second leg to this story is that the president-elect had said that the unity of Nigeria was not negotiable. That's you have heard that sentiment before.
We have heard it since probably as old as Nigeria.
So, is it negotiable or non-negotiable?
Well, I think for somebody who is coming in the reins of government, or the federal government of Nigeria, I am not surprised by that particular statement, because that has always been the refrain. If those people
you think it's preemptive?
Yes. If those who elect people into office hear that you have said that, Shivavuna made a mistake in 1979 by saying that it's likely to look into the records of the IITT, and you know what happens in Nigeria. So it was just being smart. If people know that, the powers that be know that you are likely to touch their vested interest, they will prevent you from getting there. So it is normal that you pledge loyalty to the Federal Republic of Nigeria and demonstrate indeed and in fact that you will not do anything that will lead to the breakup of Nigeria.
Yusuf, quickly. Many parts of Nigeria are hurting. Our unity is non-negotiable?
That's the most presidential statement I've had from Asiwaju lately.
Okay.
What would you expect him to say? To say the unity is negotiable? Our incoming president?
Okay.
That would have destroyed his entire, integrity. What would he go to do in the office? Right. So, as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, president and commander-in-chief of Nigeria, you have to be presidential. The unity is not negotiable. Some of us can discuss on TV that they know it's negotiable, but that's because we have not gone inside. If I become president today, that's the same path I will follow. Because that is for Nigeria, it's not for anybody.
Okay, let me wait for when you stand the election. Okay.